friends, it's Nancy. Guess what? We're doing the flip through of the magazine challenge book. You gotta forgive my hands, I'm dyeing paper again. So this book is, let's do some measuring. Let's drop things all over the table. So the spine is 2 inches across. It is 5.5 inches wide and 8.25 inches tall. Gotta make sure I'm on camera here. There is 9 signatures, and it's a hidden hollow back spine, and a total of 218 pages. So you're seeing a lot of little ribbons on the top. These are my altered paper clips. These can be removed and put in another journal or used as bookmarks in, novels you're reading, whatever you want to do with them. I don't know where this one came from. I feel like it came from here. It was created using a vintage 1943 cookbook. The inside covers are actually the fly leaf from the original book, so that page and that page. Because this was a challenge between me and Catherine, all of the ephemera and decorative elements made of paper came from the magazine. We did use some, pages from the original book that we used, as well as like music papers and, different like neutral text pages. So we'll just go through this. So here's the title page. I put a couple of layers of lace here and built it up on some paper to give it some dimension. And I also added this little ruffle of fabric. And it doesn't show from the front really until you open it up. This I adhered to tea-dyed paper that I dyed myself and created this lacy look by applying lace to the paper while it was drying in the sunshine. So here's an original cookbook page. This is lined paper, some more vintage paper, and I used a vintage linen that was made from this printed fabric and added ruffles to this page. Well, throughout the book, actually. You can see that there's fabric, there's vintage tatted lace, and then there's this other thicker wide white lace in it. So when we get there, I'll point it out. Okay, so here's one of those little hidden or altered paper clips that I made. So this was created by fussy cutting out product from one of the magazine ads. And like I said, these can be removed or moved anywhere. Music paper, old ledger. This kind of looks like handmade paper. I don't believe it is. I think it's printed to look like that. This is a pocket that I made from an ad for a Tappan stove, or a range, I guess. And I created this matching tag. Again, I used that lace to pattern this paper that I dyed with avocado dye. And fussy cut out this little top piece there. So there's a journaling card or tag. And here we have some pink hand tatted lace that I added there. And now we're seeing, this is a fussy cut image for a dryer, I think it was, on that page. This is a color image that came from the original cookbook. Writing paper. some dictionary paper, and here's another fancy lady. Here's some tea-dyed manuscript paper. And here I fussy cut out this Campbell's soup can and a coupon for a recipe book. And here's one of the tags that I made from that master board that was in Thursday morning's video. So what I did was I die cut a doily using my die cutting machine and a book page from the cookbook. So you can kind of see the text for a recipe back there. And fussy cut this little guy. Oh, and the back is tea-dyed grid paper. Here's a little ivory soap altar paper clip. And here is this vintage lace that I made a side loading pocket, and I cut out this recipe card, backed it onto some file folder, I believe, and fussy cut this lady out. Just a little fussy cut. It's easy to be smart. Another color image from the cookbook. It's mainly a writer's book. Here's some old Dutch cleanser. More music paper. This was a fussy cut from the magazine. Here's that little booklet that I made. But it's also a tuck spot. And here's another one of those die cut doilies. This tag pulls out. That was a fun project. I think I'll try that again. This is vintage paper. And some more tagging. Look at that cherry pie. Little tuna can. More dictionary. A little fussy cut. I used one of my edge punches to make that guest book. This is a journaling card, and it's backed with some more of that avocado lace paper. And I just tuck that into that pocket. Another tag. Magazine was from March 1952. Tea-dyed paper that I put lace on. Here's a little tuck spot I made using this lady ironing, and here's a little tag that I made using an advertisement. Another fussy cut. I packed this image of a can of juice, apricot nectar. Here's another one of those tags that I made from the masterboard. Box of prunes, some ledger, another fussy cut lady. She was exciting witchery in sheer sophistication. Everything was thrilling and exciting in 1952. Another little recipe and I put this sophisticated lady, looks like she's hitchhiking. It was an ad for pantyhose. It reminds me of the Claudette Colbert character in, was It Happened One Night? There's a lobster. I hope to be eating fresh Nova Scotian lobster soon. Soon. This is some Braille paper, and it was a magazine for children, and it was this color originally. Bag of flour, tea-dyed paper. We did this in yesterday's video, this little tuck spot, and here's a tag. Let your some more tea-dyed lace with plastic tablecloth on it. More steno book. And here's a pretty lady, and this is another tag that I created from the masterboard, and I added this little fussy cut that I stitched around for cake mix. She was amazed to find this nice man always at her beck and call, so long as she never called or beckoned. Another tag made from the masterboard, and I just layered her up on some paper and stitched around her. I think she's cute. And here's another die cut doily. I made deviled eggs yesterday. I think we ate almost all of them. Fruit cocktail. Oh, yeah, okay. Here's a tuck spot that has an iron, and here is a an ad about ironing, and it's backed with some avocado dyed paper. This is some lined paper that's been tea dyed. Here's an ad for a Singer sewing machine and another tag. Can of cream corn. And there we are. So it's a pretty hefty, sturdy book. I'm also including this glassine bag. It'll have a couple of these die cut doilies from recipe pages from the book, and I've got all of these little die cuts of ladies and homemakers and products from the 1952 magazine. Oh, and here it says amazing. So they can be used anywhere to decorate the book. I will include that. And these two cards, these were from a feature about movies that were coming out. So this movie was coming out in April of 1952. And this one was coming out in May of 1952. I will also tuck those in there. So if you're seeing this video, this has been listed on my Etsy shop. I will leave a link below. You can go and take a look. I also have a thrift haul. So first I got some textiles. This is a roll of some kind of fabric. It was $1.50. I thought it's pretty grubby on the outside. In fact, I think I'll cut it off and throw it out right now. But I thought it might be good for reinforcing book spines, or I might try tea dyeing some and maybe stamping images on it. There's quite a lot there, so I'll let you know how I make out with that. Got this lace. Oh, this was $1. And there's some interesting little bits. I think there was really just one I was Is it this one I was jacked about? I think it was this one that I was super excited to own. There's not a lot there. Not a lot of that one. Well, that's kind of cute. That's different. I don't have anything like that. There's quite a chunk of this one. Interesting. And then there's just a few. Oh, that one's kind of cute. What's this? Looks like it's been torn off a nightgown or something. It's got like a gathering thread there. I don't know. This one is some eyelet. And it's kind of colored. Looks like there's a couple of spots here and there. Might be torn off some. Yeah, there's a seam there, so it's probably torn off something as well. This was also $1. But it, once we get it down to one layer, it's very, very, very light. Very light. Almost transparent. So that might be coming soon to a junk journal near you. This was $1, and it looks like it's a piece of a wedding gown, maybe. And the tape is peeling off the sequins. And this looks like it could be part of a bodice, maybe, or a sleeve, maybe a sleeve. Yep, that's a sleeve, and it's backed with this netting. So it's covered in these appliques. I'm not sure. Was it worth $1? Maybe. Maybe. This little piece of lace, also $1. And I got it because it was a really pretty ivory color. And again, it's really, really light and airy. And it has these adorable little flowers. And I feel like it eventually will become two-sided. Like once we take that off. And then there, it has a wider lacy edge here. Oh, this was $1.50. I don't know why I got it. This isn't my style, but it's so darn cute. I couldn't just let it sit there. So it has these little blue flowers and chicks. I have a feeling I will part with some of that. Okay, this was $3. And you know what these are? These are little clips, and I've had clips like this for years for quilting, and they were really expensive when I got them years and years ago. This was $3, and they're these little clips. There's 60 of them in here. I saw on Corey Dahman's channel, she uses these little clips all the time to hold her little things together. And I think they'll take a lot less room than all of my bulldog clips over there. So for $3, not bad. I got myself a couple of summer dresses. They were both of them brand new with tags. One I paid $8, one was $12. This one, this book was $2, and it has, it contains 12 rare and newly researched removable facsimile documents of historical importance. So in these pages, what's it got here? Some receipts. Otter skins, bear skin, foxes, woodchucks. Oh, look at the back of it. That's neat. Okay, so it says item 2. So it'll probably have a story about what item 2, 3, and 4B. This must be item 1. So it's a map, and look, it's all aged on the back. And New England. I don't know where this is. I don't know. None of this looks familiar. It says North Sea. Manhattans. Mohicans. Nahicans. New England. Okay. Okay. So when I saw the ephemera pieces in here, what's this? 4A. I love that they've done the back as a facsimile as well. And I thought, you know what? I think I would like to do a native journal, junk journal. I do have a book cover that I would love to use. It's called Flint and Feather by Pauline Johnson, who is a poetess from Six Nations, which isn't too far from here, just about an hour south of us. By the President of the United States of America, a proclamation from George Washington. Oh, it's almost same weight as newspaper. Cherokee hymns. There's Tecumseh. My great-great-grandfather, his name was Cornelius Flummerfelt. He was at the Battle of Detroit with Tecumseh. During the War of 1812. So of course this is all American, south of the border, First Nations folk. This is from a Cheyenne village. Major Cooley. What's this? Minnesota Indians. So I'm going to find out what all these things are. Navajo Talkers course. So I thought, oh, maybe I can use some of this ephemera. Maybe I can use some images. And of course I can use my book, my Flint and Feather book, and I've been thinking about doing a native themed junk journal. Of course, Indigenous Day is coming up next Monday, the 21st. That's a statutory holiday for me. For some workers, that's a holiday. So I'll have a long weekend next weekend. Usually, we would be encouraged to go to events related to truth and reconciliation, or celebrating culture and teachings of our First Nations people. But with COVID, of course, there's nothing that we can be in the community together for. But I know this year a lot of people will be thinking about that terrible, terrible recent discovery of 215 children's bodies at the residential school in Kamloops. And the news is filled with finding other bodies of lost children at other residential schools around the country. There's a residential school that's down on Six Nations, down near Six Nations, the Mohawk school, that is being preserved so that the horror of residential schools won't be forgotten. and it's very likely that there's lost children who have been buried there as well. I don't mean to end this on a sad note. It's a horrible cycle of trauma that has revisited our First Nations people in several forms: the residential school system, the 60s scoop, now child welfare and justice systems treating people of First Nations terribly and quite differently than the colonials, we colonials, I guess. There's lots of work to do yet, and I guess that's kind of why I want to meditate on it and think about what's my role in the process of truth and reconciliation. So I just wanted to mention that. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me. I am going to be working on some stuff in the backyard this afternoon. I've been dyeing paper and experimenting with a couple of different techniques of dyeing paper, so hopefully I'll get to share that with you soon. And if you're interested in our challenge book, please go over to Etsy, take a look, and see if this is something that needs to come home with you. All right, you take care. We'll talk to you again soon.